Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint-Germain family. As every single person knows, the best game of the year is set to be played between Paris Saint-Germain and FC Bayern München. And in today's video, we'll be doing a tactical, analytical review of the game right here. Preview of the game. So we're going to look tactically how the teams are going to set up, what we're looking for. Paris Saint-Germain in position, Bayern in position, PSG without position, Bayern without position, 1v1 battles, and so on. These are the two predicted lineups. So Paris Saint-Germain, it should be Chevalier in goal, Achraf Hakimi, Marquinhos should be the starter, especially with Zabarni suspended for the game, Pacho and Nuno Mendes. Vitinha, Warren Zaire-Emery, and João Neves. Fabian Ruiz recently came back from a, 3-week-long injury. But only come on as a substitute, and I don't see Luis Enrique pushing him into the starting 11, especially with the form that Warren Zaire-Emery has been. So if you haven't really watched PSG, Warren is looking... He's not fully back yet to his absolute peak that we saw in the 23-24 season, but it's a much better Warren that we've seen ever since then. Bradley Barcola, Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, and Ousmane Dembele should be the attackers, even though Ousmane Dembele just came back from injury. Manuel Neuer in goal for Bayern, Bowie and Leimer as the two fullbacks. Bowie is the right back, Leimer is the left back. I believe I'm correct here. Ta and Upamecano as the two centre backs. We'll come to it. Kimmich obviously is going to start. Olise, Diaz, Kane obviously going to start. Then I think there's a little bit of competition here. You have Nicolas Jackson, you have Gnabry, but I think Kompany will opt for Gnabry. Gnabry has played longer under Vincent Kompany, and I think Kompany has more trust in Gnabry, even though both Gnabry and Jackson scored in the recent game. And then for the double pivot midfielder, it could be Goretzka or it could be Pavlovic. It's one of the two. I don't know. I think it should be Pavlovic. I don't know why you're continuing to give minutes to Goretzka. But I think it will be Pavlovic, maybe. Unfortunately for, I think it will be Goretzka, maybe. Unfortunately for Bayern fans. Now you know what? Pavlovic was trusted in the Club World Cup game for us, so let's think Kompany will do that. And here we have the two teams. Who do we give the ball to first? Paris Saint-Germain or Bayern München? Let's take a look at Bayern first with possession, because FC Bayern München in the Club World Cup game had 54% possession compared to Paris Saint-Germain with 46, and I even believe in the Champions League group stage game we played against each other, Bayern had more possession. It's very rare that Paris Saint-Germain gets out-possessed, but that just shows the quality of FC Bayern. So we'll take a look at them when they have the ball. Obviously, it depends in what area. So if you start with the goalkeeper, obviously Bayern are not going to... Neuer is great ball-playing goalkeeper with his feet, so maybe sometimes they will be looking for a long ball or something. But I think, obviously, majority of the time, Bayern will try to pass it out of the press. Kane, obviously, we know he likes to drop. Maybe Gnabry will stay top a little bit. Or they basically form a double tense. Olise holding the right. Luis Diaz will hold the left, but also in like this. But Paris Saint-Germain will obviously press with Dembele right here. Barcola in this area, Khvicha in this area. Nuno will stay behind with Olise. It will not be Hakimi versus Davis. Hakimi will push up here, so Barcola goes inside. And you have Dembele, Barcola on Ta, Dembele Upamecano. Dembele will basically be on one centre-back and a Neuer at the same time, trying to press Neuer if he has the ball, if it's not goal kick, or it will stay with the centre-back. Luis Diaz will be marked with Marquinhos, just in the Liverpool tie, because Paris Saint-Germain basically play with the three at the back. Nuno Mendes there, him there. So maybe Pacho, if Gnabry stays up, Pacho will stay with him. If he goes a little bit deeper, maybe Pacho goes a little bit deeper slightly. Paris Saint-Germain will obviously be playing with a very high line. And then when it comes to the midfielder, I think Neves will be the most offensive one. He will basically take over Fabian Ruiz's role, whilst Warren Zaire-Emery will take the double pivot role instead of João Neves. So we got João Neves here, Warren here, Vitinha here. And as you can see, it's a man mark for every single player going into the game. I think if Gnabry is always going to be the 10, I think Vitinha is going to be more on him and Pacho on Harry Kane. And that's basically going to be it. Paris Saint-Germain will obviously try to press Bayern München as strong as possible, even though we didn't really do that in the Club World Cup game, and we didn't really do that in the Champions League group stage game. So maybe Paris Saint-Germain play a little bit less press, just looking at the pattern of the games we've had previously, but I still believe that Paris Saint-Germain will press Bayern as strong as possible. Bayern obviously here, it would be very tough for them if Paris Saint-Germain play the man-to-man press. But that's where Neuer comes in with his ball-playing ability. You could see Luis Diaz looking for this run. all the time. That's what Luis Diaz does. Just like Barcola, just like Rafinha, all three similar profile, goal-scoring wingers. He will look at the inside run and even can beat Marquinhos on the outside. I mean, Marquinhos, athletically, obviously, a little bit past of his best, which could be a tough duo right there. I don't really know who they always look for. It could be Kimmich trying to drop into the pivot with Neves following him. But that's what Paris Saint-Germain will try to do. They will try to, make it very hard for Bayern to progress the ball out of the press. Let's take a look if Bayern have the ball in more of an attacking area. I think Paris Saint-Germain will obviously press high, but let's say they have the ball. Paris Saint-Germain will be looking to just sit back. That's what Paris Saint-Germain does. If it won't happen that often, but Paris Saint-Germain would just be looking to sit back in more of a 4-5-1. With the midfielders coming in like this, Neves helping out, or it could be more like a 4-4-2 with I don't think Khvicha would go up top. Yeah, maybe like this. It would look like this if Paris Saint-Germain sit back and then Bayern pushing. Kane doesn't really push into the box, so they would be more in the half spaces. Olise, Bowe will be here. Upamecano, Kimmich, Ta. You got Diaz more inside. Lamer also likes to go inside into the midfield, which is very interesting. Maybe Bayern will be looking to build a 3 at the back in the defense, with Lamer going in to create a midfield overloadment. It could be that. Maybe Barcola has to go a little bit more inside. Maybe Dembele has to drop back. Now we'll take a look at when Paris Saint-Germain has the ball. Let's give it to Chevalier right there. Bayern, just like they did in the Club World game and in the Champions League game we faced them early on, they will be pressing Paris Saint-Germain extremely high. And that's why this game is going to be so good. It's two... I mean, both of them you could see somewhat, following in Pep footsteps. Both Luis Enrique and Vincent Kompany are heavily, what's the word? I don't know, affected by Pep Guardiola, Barcelona, Cruyff football and all of that. So both of them would press high and have possession. So when Paris Saint-Germain has the ball, you got Pavlovic in the double pivot, you got Kane, you got Kimmich, you got Lamer. They're obviously going to press as hard as possible, Bayern. The main difference for Paris Saint-Germain when it comes to playing out of the press is obviously the goalkeeper. Chevalier is better than Donnarumma, even though we haven't seen like peak Chevalier playing out of the back here at Paris Saint-Germain. So I think Gnabry, who will be man-marking Vitinha, because Vitinha, you got to man-mark him. Or at least try to man-mark him. That's how good Vitinha is and how important and crucial he is for the Paris Saint-Germain system. I think Kimmich is actually on the right. Pavlovic there. Yeah, I think Bayern are going to leave it as 1v1s. That's what these big teams do. They take risks. And when you look at all of this, I feel happy. Maybe Olise goes inside. Bowie pushes up because we saw Upamecano versus Khvicha in the Club World Cup. Maybe it could be like this. I mean, the thing is, shout out to Lamer, but Barcola, just like Luis Diaz, will be looking at this run right here. He will be looking to go inside. Khvicha obviously is not a runner in behind. He wants the ball at his feet, dragging Upamecano all the way with him. But obviously the key for Paris Saint-Germain in this game, who did not play, he came on as a sub towards the end, got the goal, it's obviously Ousmane Dembele. Ousmane Dembele will be looking to drop into these spaces. So that's why I still think Upamecano will be following Dembele. Maybe Lamer pushes up, Ta on Barcola, Bowie on Khvicha. I mean, Ta Barcola, that's another mismatch. I saw a video of like Atletico Madrid versus Leverkusen back in the day, and Ta just got absolutely cooked for pace. So he's not the quickest, he's not the best. So I think Paris Saint-Germain should be able to do something right there with Ta. You got Bowie here. Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, because Dembele loves to drop. We saw versus Arsenal, we saw versus Liverpool, but once again, Nuno here is open, so maybe Olise has to go here. Yeah, exactly. And then the three-man midfield, and Kane goes on to both centre-backs. So it's going to be hard because the two stuff that PSG have, which we didn't have in the Club World Cup game, because Bayern's press was really strong against us, and we struggled with it in moments, is Dembele, key, Chevalier, key. Strictly ball-playing ability. Dembele, we've seen he loves to drop to these kinds of spaces on the right as well. I mean, you have Lamer as an open man, actually. So maybe Kane goes here, Luis Diaz goes there, Lamer goes there. But you can see Dembele, he can drop into all of these spaces. If Nuno gets the ball, he would try to find him. And then the other beautiful thing with Paris Saint-Germain is we can progress the ball through a 1v1 battle in our defensive third. Unlike Bayern a bit. obviously they have Alphonso Davies. If Alphonso Davies started this game, he's another player that can break the press through his individual ability. We know Paris Saint-Germain, Nuno Mendes can do that. I mean, Nuno Mendes can get it. Olise goes here, he does like a drag back and bomb, he's gone. And Olise will not catch up to Nuno Mendes, and then the counterattack will start. We'll also have Hakimi. Hakimi, it's less, he does it with the ball at his feet. It will be more maybe Hakimi gets it, Laimer follows him, he plays a 1-2 with Marquinhos, and then gets it back, and then starts running. But yeah, I think that's the basic stuff we have around when it comes to possession and all of that at Bayern. Next up, I wanted to take a look at like the player duels we'll have in the game, as you can see by the thumbnail as well. These are obviously the two lineups. We can do that. We can do competition as well. Okay, goalkeeper. One top goalkeeper, probably the GOAT goalkeeper of all time. Trying to show that he still got it. Chevalier coming up through the ranks. Nominated for the Yashin Trophy. Neuer wasn't. Won the league and goalkeeper of the year. Neuer probably won it, but it could have been maybe Kobel, maybe someone else. So, you know, both will have to prove themselves, and both will be facing shots in this game, obviously. Then when it comes to the fullback, obviously Paris Saint-Germain have the best fullback pairing in the world, probably the best in the world. Bayern, Laimer has been really good for them so far this season, and they're waiting for Davies to come back to have their, you know, actual best fullback pairing. But in this game, it will be, we can finally see how close is Laimer to these players, especially with Laimer playing a very similar role to Achraf Hakimi at Paris Saint-Germain. I think Laimer has like the biggest, most big chances created at Bayern and in Europe maybe so far this season. And that's usually the numbers Hakimi usually dominates. So I think Company has taken something from Luis Enrique's book and trying to play Laimer very similar to Hakimi. Laimer obviously is more midfield-oriented, whilst Hakimi is more winger-oriented. So that'd be interesting. If Bowie starts, I remember he was good in the Club World Cup. We'll see how good he is. Then we come to the centre-backs. Upamecano and William Pacho, probably the two best centre-backs in the world. Both of them have the best defensive duels in Europe's top 5 leagues this season. I think Upamecano at like 89%, William Pacho at 88%. So it will be very interesting who will be seen as the more dominant centre-back in this game. I would obviously love if Upamecano doesn't extend and joins Paris Saint-Germain. Marquinhos, nothing really to talk about there. Diaz and Barcola, honestly, very similar profiles, both goal-scoring wingers. They will be less involved in the game. You know, Kane and Olise will be, and Dembele Khvara will be way more involved in the game than Barcola and Diaz, because they were looking for those runs, try to beat his man 1v1. So it'll be really interesting, the battle between them two, what they can do to the opposition. Then you got to take a look at Olise and Khvicha Kvaratskhelia. Very similar players profile-wise, can play, make, can score, can dribble, great technically, do defensive work as well. So it'll be very interesting, the battle between them two. Olise has obviously been in very great form so far this season, and same goes for Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, whilst he's more strictly in the UEFA Champions League. And then we come to these two. I mean, basically two false nine-esque strikers. They can give you a lot of goals, but they will give you way more than just goals. And it'll be very interesting, you know, Ballon d'Or Dembele versus Kane, who I think is leading the Ballon d'Or race, in my opinion, so far this season. And then we come into the midfield. Paris Saint-Germain obviously have the best midfielder in the world, despite us missing Fabian Ruiz in this game. Was Bayern, Kimmich, Pavlovic double pivot with Gnabry as a 10. Obviously, they're still missing Musiala, but it's going to be a very great midfield battle. And, you know, I heard a lot about Kimmich, but then I watched Bayern. I don't think Kimmich is at the level. I mean, you see SofaScore stats, numbers. He's so involved in terms of passing and everything. But I don't know, when I watch games, especially that Club World Cup game, I just didn't feel he was that impactful. You know, some Bayern fans call him the best midfielder in the world. Some were pushing him for Ballon d'Or early on in the season, last season and so on. But yeah, that would be really interesting. And then we got to look at the other stuff. Luis Diaz, as I mentioned, will not be facing Achraf Hakimi in this game most of the time. Like when we're sitting back in more of a 4-at-the-back, it will be more Diaz Hakimi, as we saw like in the Liverpool, especially in the second leg, where Liverpool had more opportunities and had more off the ball. This game is obviously going to be played at the Parc, and I remember at the Parc, it was Diaz versus Marquinhos, and I like Marquinhos. I think he's going to have a good game, but obviously this is a weakness that Bayern should look to expose and abuse, and I think Company definitely will look into that tactically. The other one, obviously, Nuno Mendes and Michael Olise. Honestly, I haven't seen a defender that makes you so excited for a game strictly for a 1v1 duel like a Nuno Mendes. I mean, when we face Barca, you think about Nuno Yamal. When we face Madrid, They don't have a good winger, right winger. We face Liverpool, Nuno Salah. Face Inter, Nuno Dumfries. And now Nuno Olise. And Olise in the group stage game, he came on as a sub. It was Leroy Sané in the first half. And then in the Club World Cup game, I think Nuno won the battle, but Olise still had good actions in that game. So very excited to see this duo. And obviously the toughest test for Olise. We'll see. Is it the toughest test for Nuno? Honestly, out of all the players he's faced, I don't know who's been the toughest. Oh, Jadon Sancho. But Nuno just came back from an injury, so I would like to see Nuno versus Sancho again. But yeah, I would say Jadon Sancho has the best performance versus Nuno Mendes. Paris Saint-Germain wise, we don't really play 1v1-esque that much. But I guess... I remember last time Kvaratskhelia was like man-marked by Upamecano, especially in space. Upamecano did a great job. Despite, I remember when Khvicha cooked the shit out of Upamecano and nearly got a goal from that. So, I don't know if Upamecano will be on Kvara. I think he'll be more on Ousmane Dembélé this game. So maybe Kvara Bowie, that could be a tough matchup. We've seen Kvara sometimes has problem against more physical right backs. But I mean, he played against Timber in the UCL and absolutely cooked him. Like, I've never seen a winger cook Timber before. So maybe it's all about, you know, Liga, and Kvara doesn't care that much. And he will really care about this Champions League game right here. And last but not least, the two strikers, Kane. Kane is obviously... Honestly, Kane is more false nine-esque than what Ousmane Dembélé is. So I don't know how much we will see versus them, but I think against Marquinhos, Kane could have, you know, a good duel. Against Pacho, I think, I called Pacho the black hole. When you enter the Pacho circle, you don't go out with the ball. And then Dembélé here, I think Ta, if Dembélé is left in spaces with Ta, it could look ugly. He's really unathletic, stiff, big. I think Dembélé will have an easy game there, but Upamecano, you know, I rate Upamecano so highly. I saw what he did with Kvara, and it will be a very tough matchup for both Upamecano and Ousmane Dembélé. Obviously, both close friends as well. Both have the same agent. Both are, I believe, from the same city originally, from Paris. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. Both have, you know, the big eyes as well, the Dumbouz eyes, as I like to call them. But very intrigued into this game. It's going to be interesting if any of the stuff I mentioned will happen in the game. But both teams will want to have possession in this game. Both teams will press, both teams will want to score, and both teams will not want to concede. I mean, it's a perfect match to want to watch, and I'm so excited for this game, as I've been excited ever since the Champions League draw happened. That's been it from boy PSG. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this tactical review, preview, and as usual, allez, Paris.